Okay, it is 6:30 and time to call the May board meeting of Tipton Community School Board of Trustees to order. I've asked Mrs. Rodabaugh to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. First on the agenda tonight is the approval of the consent agenda items, which consists of the approval of the agenda, approval of minutes from April 12th, 2022 regular session, April 25th, 2022 special session, approval of claims for payroll April 15th, payroll claims for April the 29th, and accounts payable claims, approval of the personnel report, and I will read that at the conclusion of approving this, and approval of to accept donations. Lancaster Management donated $2,715.25 to the Tipton Middle School Athletics for new cheer uniforms. Friends of Tipton FFA donated $384,760.09 to help construct the total seat production greenhouse on the north side of our campus. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Tonight's personnel report. Certified staff recommendation of Cameron Finch, auto shop metals teacher at Tipton High School. Tammy Hetty, permanent elementary teacher at Tipton Elementary School. Classified staff recommendation, Jenny Ellis, part-time custodian at Tipton Elementary School. Audra Westner, head secretary at Tipton Middle School. Resignation of Martin Espiazu, part-time custodian at Tipton Elementary. Linda Whitesell, head secretary, Tipton Middle School. Amanda Blake, instructional assistant at Tipton High School. Jenny Ellis, part-time custodian, Tipton Elementary School. Larry Murdoch, instructional assistant at the Tipton Middle School. ECA staff resignation of Kim Warner from National Honor Society at Tipton High School, and recommendation of Jessica McKinney, assistant cheer coach at the Tipton Middle School. Next on tonight's agenda is the superintendent's report. So Dr. Glaze.
Thank you, Gary. So a couple of things that we want to talk about here with, I need to turn, one of these days I'll have this done. Right. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about Hidden in Plain Sight. This is an anti-vaping program that we are hosting here tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. And I would just encourage as many people as possible to come and to learn about what is really honestly an epidemic here in Tipton and in other places. So this is a very serious issue. It's something we're very concerned about, which is why we are hosting this event. And again, we just want to encourage as many people as possible to be here. So just some general information. They do have a in plain sight trailer, which you are welcome to tour, and it just talks about the different places that vapes can be hidden within bedrooms and different places like that. Informational meeting will be at 6 in the high school auditorium, and childcare will be provided. We want to thank you for, we want to thank the Madison County Sheriff's Department, as well as Intersect, Madison County Community Foundation, Bendel Lawn Equipment, and Denny's Abbey Carpet and Floor, and the Pendleton Police Department. They've sponsored this, and we're just very fortunate they've been willing to cross county lines and come over and do this presentation for us. So again, just would encourage as many people as possible to come and learn. If you did not get the opportunity to see Mamma Mia, what was that, a week ago? It seems like it's been longer than that, but it was just an incredible musical and incredible performance, and I'm just in awe at the talent that we have here at Tipton, and I just thought it was all very well done, and I'm always impressed when high school groups actually do professional musicals, because they always have these that are, watered down for high school or whatnot. And so what a great experience to be able to do an actual musical that's been performed on Broadway, and also obviously movies and other things like that. So again, our kids just performed very well, and I was just very amazed by the whole process. FFA banquet, we got to go to the FFA banquet, and what an experience and what a full room that we had there. And congratulations to our FFA sponsors for doing such an outstanding job of getting people there and organizing the evening. And it was just a super nice event. And I love to see our kids recognized. I love to see our kids and what they do and their work that they're doing, beyond, above and beyond their schoolwork. So just a great event, and thank you both for doing such an awesome job. We did have our employee appreciation banquet, and that was last week. And I wanted to thank our wonderful servers. You can see their picture right there. They did such a great job, and I really love this part of the staff appreciation dinner. And I just think it's kind of a nice touch. So thank you all for serving and serving our folks. We appreciate that. And so if you're not aware of what this process is, it is, of course, recognizing our retirees, recognizing our different folks with their different levels of service. And again, none of this could happen without the great work of the Tipton Community Foundation. And honestly, Dawn Benefill, she does it all. She's fabulous, and she puts a lot of passion and a lot of hard work into this event. And we did have something a little bit different this year with Dave Dugan, who provided some entertainment for us. And again, our Board of Trustees for serving. So thank you all for doing that. And that's it.
All right. Next on the agenda is the department reports, and you all have had those in your packet for a few days. Achievement and Learning, Mr. Jaworski. Student Services and Transportation, Mr. Clark. Food Services, Adam Prohl. And Technology from Stephen Gingrich. Does anyone have any questions on those reports? Mr. Jaworski, do you have something for us to see?
I had a question for Mr. Jaworski, two actually. One, Mr. Jaworski, I saw that you were successful in obtaining a grant that was a competitive grant. So congratulations on being successful in writing that.
Thank you.
I know very well that that's a big undertaking and a lot goes into that process. So great work. I was just curious, I know it was an up to $50,000 grant, and I'm just curious at what level that grant was awarded to our corporation.
Be honest, I was looking at it earlier.
I'm sorry. I thought that would be like a
It was not at the top of my list, but it's somewhere around $40,000. And
Awesome.
where that is going to go to is we'll be partnering with Solution Tree, which is an Indiana company who specializes in a lot of professional development and education. They're kind of known nationwide, but I believe they're homed out of Bloomington, Indiana. So I've had experience working with them in previous experiences when I was working at the Department of Education, and they're a great company. Actually, we'll be attending a conference with them on professional learning communities this summer as an administrative team. So excited about that relationship. The other part of that grant, actually a significant chunk of that grant, is actually going to go towards teacher stipends. Part of that is like an incentive base to encourage our staff to attend certain professional developments over the course of the year, and so a good chunk of that money is going to go towards paying our teachers. So really excited about that as well. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Great work on that. And then my second question is kind of in reference to Mr. Courtney was here last board meeting and handed all of us a packet of information about what other schools, a particular school system does with their curriculum selection. And I was wondering if you could just give us a brief snippet and just kind of refresh us on what we do at Tipton to select our curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we actually just went through this process this year with the math adoption. Where I believe next year we'll be conducting the same process for our science and for our agriculture. Looking forward to that as well. So real quick on the process for that, there's a committee selected from each building. Obviously for agriculture, it'll probably just be our high school and middle school put together at this point, with that news coming through. But for science, again, it'll be a committee for each building. This past year, we formed in the math department in October, and that timeline seemed to work pretty well. We might start that just a hair earlier this year, just so we can kind of give us a little bit of leeway in case there's any kind of decisions that need to be made or extra research that's involved. But again, essentially, each committee is going to identify priorities from each member's perspective. And again, our members are consisted of teachers, administrators, families, parents. And I will note that some of our teachers kind of double as parents on these committees as well. So they kind of have two lenses that they look through on that. So again, we typically ask for the priorities from each member's perspective. Again, establish a criteria to measure each resource by, and then we ultimately develop a rubric in which to actually compare all these different resources from. Again, committee members are going to attend a textbook caravan that usually comes around in January. It was this past year where we review different options that are presented to us from the state and from the education service centers from across the state. So they're kind of pre-vetted there. And then, so that in the math department, we had about anywhere from 8 to 12 different resources we looked at through the caravan. Following that caravan, the committee would come back with their notes, look at their rubrics, kind of compare all those different things, and then try to narrow it down to about 2 or 3 different resources so that we can then bring in those vendors for a little bit more question, answer, kind of a walkthrough of their particular resources, ask some of the harder questions more specific to the actual content itself. And then at that point, like I said, once you get down to about 2 or 3, you can start making some recommendations. And again, from a committee standpoint, 6 months of meetings and discussion and debate and this and that. I mean, there's a lot of passionate opinions that go into those, but that's kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for that varied perspective and getting a lot of passionate opinions from parents, teachers, admin, trying to find the resource that works for all parties that's going to really service our students the best. Like I said, this year, the resources we end up with in math were Savis, which is the new Pearson, and then Curriculum Associates. So again, that's just a bit of the rundown of how that process goes through. Once it gets to that point, again, we're also discussing a little bit on like costs, again, making sure the fees don't become exponential for our families. That's something we're very, very cognizant of. And at that point, it then falls on my shoulders to make sure we get those things ordered. I work with our treasurers to make sure those get ordered. And then, yeah, I think at this point for the math department, we're just waiting on deliveries. So, yep,
Great.
that's our process in a bit of a nutshell.
Thank
So
you.
how are families on that committee chosen?
Right, that's a great question. And honestly, that's something that I'm looking at potentially revising for next year. So for this current year, the way it was set up is I asked staff or leadership, building leadership, who would be good candidates to, who should we contact for families to be a part of this. Honestly, I would like to have a better way to kind of gauge the community as far as like how we can get more people in. We want to be really cognizant that we're not having a massive committee where you've got like 30, 40 people, because that's a bit unwieldy. Again, where we're at, we're about, I think, somewhere between 8 to 12 or 13 per team. So we want to keep it in that little sweet spot. But as far as like putting it out there and asking a survey like, hey, who would like to participate in this? I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best way to go about it, or I'm kind of open to suggestions on that. Something again I'm looking into and seeing if we can be any better next year. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, Mr. Dorsey? All right, next up is the financial report with Dr. Glades.
For the month of April, we did have a 3-pay month, so obviously our expenditures exceeded our revenue, which is typical for a 3-pay month. So our cash balance in the education fund is not as happy as it was last month, but still a strong balance of $504,614. So once again, we will build that up, and then we will have another 3-pay month in a bit, and that same thing will happen again. The operation fund, once again, the cash balance continues to dwindle there, and And essentially what's happening in that situation is that we are front loading a lot of the projects out of operations. We did speak with bond counsel 2 weeks ago, and his suggestion was to do temporary transfers from rainy day. That does not take your action. That's just kind of us just kind of moving money back and forth in order to make sure that we have cash flow. So that was his suggestion. The other issue is we are, since our projects are a little bit delayed right now, essentially just kind of getting everything together. It does continue to push back our date to close on bonds and to sell our bonds. Of course, you are all aware that interest rates are going up. So we want to be mindful of that. And we're going to try to sell those bonds as quickly as possible and hope that, we aren't paying a lot in interest. So once again, once those bonds are sold, everything will be reimbursed to operations and also to rainy day. So all of those funds will be back intact and should be in great shape. Once again, debt service and rainy day balances. Debt service is $900,000, and then our rainy day is $2.5 million, and which is kind of where it's been here for a while. So that is the April report.
All right. Old business is the consideration to approve board policies and administrative guidelines on second reading. These were presented last month at the April 14th board meeting. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the same policy updates on the second reading this month. So we need a motion and a second to do that.
Make a motion to approve the board policies and administrative guidelines on the second reading.
A second. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is on to new business. Consideration to approve board policies and administrative guidelines on first reading. 3 policies were delayed from the April board meeting and need to be approved by the board on first reading this evening. Approval of these policies is recommended. You've had a chance to review those. Those are policy 1220, policy 5540, and policy 2370.03. Need a motion and a second to approve those on first reading tonight.
I move to approve board policies 1220, 5540, 2370.03, and administrative guidelines first reading.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve the rescheduling of the July monthly board meeting due to conflicts with our administrator training on PLCs on July 19th, 20th, and 21st. We will need to move the July monthly board meeting from Tuesday, July 19th to Monday, July 18th. After discussion with those involved, it is recommended that the July monthly Board of Trustees meeting be on Monday, July 18th at noon. Any discussion, comments? If not, I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the rescheduled July monthly board meeting.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is approval of the 2022-2023 Tipton Elementary School, Tipton Middle School, and Tipton High School book fees. A thorough review of potential math materials by a committee of parents, teachers, and administrators. Last month, the board approved the adopted materials for this coming year. The next step is to approve the book fees factoring the new math materials. In most cases, fees remain consistent or decreased over last year thanks to hard decisions made by teachers and administrators. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the 2022-2023 book fees as written, and I'll go through those really quickly. Kindergarten is $69.55. First grade is $91.14. Second is $73.15. Third is $176.30. Fourth grade is $166.72. Fifth grade is $163.73. Sixth grade is $200.53. Eighth grade is $209.10. And eighth grade is $199.37. No questions and comments? Need a motion?
I have a
Second.
question real quick, because I was asked,
Okay.
Dr. Glaze, could you maybe sum up why there's such a disparity between primary and intermediate in the elementary?
It's because when we purchased the iPads for the primary, we purchased them with Title I dollars. And when you use federal money, you can't charge rent on them. So that's the difference. In a normal world, they would also have a $75 technology fee. And so essentially, K1 and 2 just don't have that. Now, we are always looking to make these cheaper and better. And so I really am appreciative of everybody's hard work to try to get these down. I mean, for instance, I think eighth grade went down $40. So, I mean, everybody's really trying hard to make these changes. So we'll get there eventually. Personally, they're a little high.
If there's no further questions, I entertain a motion in a second.
Yes, EMS, Nika.
Second? Yeah, second. Okay. All right, all in favor of approval of the 2022-2023 book fees signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is the approval of the 2022-2023 student handbooks. In your packet, you have the 2022-23 Tipton High School, Tipton Middle School, and Tipton Elementary School student handbook revisions, as well as copies of the 21-22 student handbooks. Have any questions or comments on those? If not, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve the handbooks.
I move to approve the student handbooks for next year.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between Tipton Educators Association and Tipton Community School Corporation. The attached MOU allows the creation of a Tipton Middle School agriculture teacher with an extended contract of 20 days. The extended contract days will be used to support both TMS and THS agriculture and FFA students and programs. The MOU was developed since salary as well as fringe benefits are negotiable, and TEA and Tipton Community School Corporations are outside the normal bargaining window. It's recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the MOU between Tipton Education Association and Tipton Community School Corporation as written. Unless there's any questions or comments. Entertain a motion in a second to approve that MOU. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. And next is consideration to approve the hire of Tipton Middle School agriculture and preparing for college and career teacher. Earlier on the agenda, the Board of Trustees considered the MOU between TEA and Tipton Community School Corporations for the TMS agriculture and a PCC teacher. Our recommendation for the position is Emily Kilmer. Motion and a second to approve the hire.
To approve the hire of preparing for college.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome aboard, Emily. Next on the agenda is consideration to give permission to the superintendent to hire permanent and summer school staff between the June, July, and August board meetings. This is a busy time of year in filling positions. Schools are in competition to find the best candidate possible. In addition, we do not know what may happen with some teachers who may be looking for other positions or decide to leave for other reasons. By giving the superintendent permission to hire, we can go ahead and secure qualified candidates without having to wait for the board to act on resignations, and allows us to get the commitment from the candidate before they accept another position. It is recommended that the superintendent be granted permission to hire staff between the board meetings of June, July, and August. That takes a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to give Dr. Blaze permission to hire summer school staff and permanent staff between the June, July, and August board.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve Tipton Elementary School, Tipton Middle School, and THS faculty handbooks. Faculty handbooks have been updated for the 2022-2023 school year. Faculty handbooks will be available online shortly after this meeting and reviewed with staff at the beginning of the school year. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the faculty handbooks as written, and you have had those to look through. Any questions or comments on those?
The only question I had was the actual number of e-learning days for next year, because each one was different.
And that's really because we were a bit in a state of flux on that. So I had a hard time, being too rough on our principals. Once we get approval, or we don't get approval, I'm not sure how that's going to work. We will have that solidified.
Thank
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Need a motion and a second to approve the faculty handbooks.
I move to approve the Tipton Elementary, Middle, and High School faculty.
Have a second? Motion and a second to approve the handbooks for Tipton Middle School, High School, and Elementary School faculty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, other matters to come before the board. Board have anything?
My only question was regarding summer hours. Is that going to be the practice again this summer?
We've had some conversation on that, and nothing has been finalized yet, but we will definitely, if that is decided, we will definitely make sure you guys are aware and go from there.
Anybody have anything else? All right, next is other matters to come before the board. We have advisory committees. May the 16th is Student Achievement Committee. June the 21st is Business Affairs. July the 18th, which I assume will be rescheduled since we have board meeting that the same night. And then Facilities and Technology will be August the 15th.
That committee meets a lot, so I think we're okay.
All right. Scheduled events coming up, as Dr. Blaze mentioned, Hidden in Plain Sight parent meeting is tomorrow night at the middle school. THS Spring Honors Awards Banquet is also tomorrow. Tipton Middle School Band Concert is on the 17th. Tipton Academy is on May 18th. Tipton Middle School Awards is to be announced what time on May the 19th. May the 20th is the last student day. May the 23rd is the last teacher day. And kindergarten roundup is the very next day on May the 24th, which also is the day for summer school to begin. And graduation is at 11 a.m. in the Tipton High School gym on May the 28th. We have Memorial Day and special board meeting on the 31st, the day after Memorial Day. And next on the agenda is comments from the community. But before we get to that, it's good to review this now and then. We've had this as our policy for several years, and we usually go through this maybe once or twice a year. The Indiana Open Door Law grants all citizens the ability to observe governing body conduct and conduct its business. The law does not give citizens the right to participate in these meetings. However, Tipton Community School Board of Trustees currently chooses to allow residents of the district the opportunity to speak during comments from the community time on the agenda. Certain restrictions involving those comments is comments should be directed to the board president after he or she has called on you. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and you have 1 slot to speak at each meeting. Comments may not be frivolous, repetitive, or harassing. Comments may not be about any personnel employed by the school. Comments about personnel should follow Board Policy 9130, Public Complaints and Concerns. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a person's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request an individual to leave the meeting when that person behaves in a manner that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting. If conduct would occur during a patron's comments that interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, then the board president may stop patron comments and move on to the next item on the board agenda. So we have comments from the community this evening, and first up on is, and we have another announcement to make about that. So for 140 years, the primary objective of Tipton Community School Corporation has been to develop each child as an individual to the fullest extent of their abilities for the ultimate benefit of society. As an institution of public education, it is our obligation to provide an inclusive, welcoming, and supportive learning environment free of discrimination. We comply with local, state, and federal laws concerning equal treatment to ensure all students and employees are free of discrimination. Sometimes that requires striking a balance between competing rights under the law. Tipton Community School Board cannot and will not comment on any matters concerning students or personnel. Student and personnel matters cannot be discussed in a public forum due to state and federal confidentiality laws, as well as Tipton Community School Corporation Board policy. So now we're ready to go with public comments, and first up is Kelly Lightfoot. Next is Laura Satong.
Hi. I just wanted to just make a general point. I mean, I know everyone's aware of what was released on Facebook, that whole 9 yards. I feel like maybe, given the social emotional learning stuff that, thought process that's been incorporated into schools lately, I just feel that, we're at the point now where we kind of need a policy about it. Unfortunately, it just, I don't know how we cannot deal with it. I mean, when an issue like this happens, I guess I look to like leadership at the school to kind of proactively deal with it so that teachers or whoever is not put in a position like this, because when policies are generally made in theory, and then in classroom is kind of when things collide. So reality a lot of times is different from the policy, and I just think given the current climate that there's got to be a policy, and I would hope that the leadership at the middle school would come out with a policy that's fair to everybody, and that it's a policy that we just continue to keep politics out of it. We keep it out of school, and we just get back to school because we've got learning losses to deal with and everything like that. Unfortunately, here we are because we didn't have a policy proactively when this kind of first surfaced back in the fall, but, it's kind of been put in your laps. So that is my request. Perhaps there could be some kind of clarification about what the policy and all that is, but nobody should have to be put in that situation. Our teachers are wonderful. We have many wonderful teachers. I know a lot by name because they've made such an impact on my daughter's life. And I just thank them so much. I'm so grateful for everything they do and all the struggles they've had to go through just in order to be able to teach and not have to walk on eggshells and figure out what's right, what's not, what can I do, what can't I do, what goes against what I think, what doesn't. And I just think we can help clarify that from the administrative level at the middle school. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next is Jennifer Edwards.
So
my concern is, since we're not contract drivers anymore, my concern, I can't speak for the other drivers, is that I still would like to be able to take a bus home. Being, if we get a route in our area, it would help us not have to go in and out of the school. There was concerns maybe if it broke down, what's going to happen? Well, it's not probably going to break down at our house. It'll break down probably out on the routes. But we want to be positive as much as we can because there's not a whole lot of drivers, and hopefully you guys want to keep us, and hopefully we've proven that we're good bus drivers, and that it would be a reward or a perk for us. We're the contract drivers, we keep our buses clean because we had to do inspections ourselves, and, hopefully we can keep it up, and, but what I'm asking is, instead of throwing it out first, let us take the buses home, and if it doesn't work out, then dismiss it, is what I'm asking. For me, I can't speak about the other drivers, but I would like this opportunity to take a school bus home. I know other corporations have done this, Heights and other surrounding areas still do that. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. So if you have any questions for me. Nope.
Is your route right now, I know the route's being changed, is your route right now, do you kind of start it from your house, or do you go, do some of your stops start off in your area, or do you have to go across the county?
Right now mine got switched because I didn't have as many kids in the country, and I kind of got two bus drivers positions, so I got kind of thrown two different bus routes. But I did have it, and it was towards my house at the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And next speaker is Tex Nunemaker.
I kind of understand where you came from with your beginning letter for the opening comments, but I guess my concern is, I get it's 2022 and the world's changing, and we all got to adapt to that. But my concern is, my daughter's in elementary school, and as she grows up, I want to keep her here, because this is where I went to school and this is where I graduated. There's a lot of flack about the changing of the logo. I'm not here for that. I'm here for what everybody else's concern is, and I just want to make sure that we're making the right decisions for not only my daughter, but everybody else's kid. I think Laura made a couple good statements. I'm not going to sit here and badger the dog, but I just feel that we have to do something different if we're going to keep standing proud. And if we don't, then we're going to fall apart. I mean, we started as a community, let's stay as a community. I don't know exactly what happened. You can't trust everything you read, but if you want to find out the truth, you come to the source. So that's what I'm doing here. I understand the legal obligations. You can't let us know exactly what happened, but I think some clarity for us as the parents of the kids would help us a lot to understand. I don't feel that we need to go into detail and badger everybody that's been in this situation or will be in this situation. Parents are doing a lot of different things nowadays than what we were all raised up to do. I don't appreciate all of it, but that's my aspect of it. And I'm not asking everybody to raise their kids like I do. I'm just asking for some clarity so we can understand, so I can make a better decision for my daughter and my other upbringing of my kids. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last comment from the community. Need a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second? Second. Everyone in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for coming.